Welcome to the show. I'm Cath Vincent, and once again we have a fabulous lineup of guests to energise and inspire you.
It's time to wake up your wow with your host, international award-winning speaker, Cath Vincent.
On the show tonight, we hear from digital entrepreneur and founder of Flossy.com, Jenene Crossan, on how to bring people on the technical journey. Communications trainer Carmel Murphy shares networking advice, which is like speed dating for your business. And we hear from our very own Jesse Wilde, who brings us musicians from his studio every week on how persistence gets you what you want. And he will be performing live with his band, Jesse Wilde and the Drive, with a special guest appearance on the bass. All this and more to wake up your wow. Jenene, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you very much for having me here.
So listen, you have launched a string of technology companies, but isn't it true that you were a high school dropout?
Everyone loves the sensational angle on that.
That's it.
It's true. No, I did. I left school at 16. I had glandular fever for a year, and I didn't want to go back and repeat the year. So I said to my mum, I'll get a job, and she said, okay, as long as you do. But that afternoon I had an interview, and I started my first job in the tech industry at 16, working for Information Tools, which was a software company.
So how did you move from there to actually launching your own business?
Well, I'd been in that company for a couple of years, and then I went to work for Nike New Zealand, and I worked for a web development company after that. And when I was within that web development company, I learned a lot about setting websites up and also the enormous growth that was happening in that space. Yeah. Think back, 1999, you know, people didn't really have websites at that stage, very much in its infancy. But I saw an opportunity to create something for young women that was about making them feel good about themselves, that could provide them with an environment and a community that they could rely on their peers. This is way, way before social media, so it was very much in its starting point. And that's what I created, which was nzgirl.co.nz.
Wow, and then what happened to that company?
I still have that 15 years on. It's hard to believe. We are 2 weeks shy of our 15th anniversary.
Congratulations.
It makes me feel quite old. But no, I'm still a director. I have a CEO that runs the company, and it's now part of another group called Bloggers Club, and Bloggers Club looks after 450 bloggers. So it's become quite an interesting business, and it's had so many iterations of the years. We've had clothing business, we've had stores, we've had all sorts of things. But yes, I still have that, and then I've gone on from there for a number of other businesses to where I am today with Flossy.com.
So how did you get from there to a small enterprise starting out to actually get into the point of doing something really big, to the point where you needed investors?
I don't think I've ever really been about starting something that's just for me. I haven't been about creating a lifestyle business. It's always been about creating a business of scale. And I think one of the biggest challenges I've experienced through that process is it's really hard getting everybody else to keep up with where technology's at. And I think there's been a really big divide between where the consumer's at and where corporate businesses are at today. And even now, 15 years into the digital world, and as it stands today, we're still quite disconnected, and so that's been, I guess, part of that challenge for me is trying to get people to come on the journey with us as we go. But it's always been the vision, is to create something of scale, and I think we're now ready. I think the New Zealand is ready to be able to take on these things, and we're developing some extraordinary businesses from here that are going to the world. Look at Xero, look at Vend, look at Geop. There's so many cool stories. Yeah.
So what is the next step? How do you get to the scale you're looking towards?
Look, it's a hard process because there's no blueprint for this. There's no roadmap or anything set to you and said, this is how you go about it. You're completely and utterly making it up as you go along. And I find that really exciting. Most people, that scares the living daylights out of them. And don't get me wrong, it does scare me, but in a really exciting way. And so my job as the CEO of the company is to guide the team to help us do that growth. So we have a vision of what we want to create, and it's about breaking it down. Really, at the end of the day, if you know where you want to go, then it's just about being able to say, how do I bring those steps down into sort of bite-sized pieces? I like to call it, how do you eat the elephant? one piece at a time.
Yeah.
And there's actually a pink elephant that sits on my desk.
And in the technology space, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't even understand how a digital business works. What insight can you give us on that?
Well, the insight I can give you is that nobody does. Everybody's making it up as they go along.
Yeah.
And even the guys that know lots and lots about this space, there's still so much more to learn, and every day things change.
Yeah.
So I like to call it get on the train. You know, as long as you're on the train, then you can go with it in the various destinations of where we're going to go. But if you refuse to get on it, you are going to get left behind. And I do see that from businesses quite a lot, where they put up what I call the techno wall. And as soon as someone says anything to do with technology, the wall starts coming up, and they'll do something like, I don't like technology, as their defence mechanism to that, and refuse to have conversation. It's a pretty dangerous game to play, I think, in today's world, where it's not going away. It's not a fad. It's not just a trend. Yeah. It's fundamentally changing the way that we interact with each other.
And then what's more advanced than that? What are the next phases for people? So if you're there saying, well, okay, I can use a smartphone, what next?
Well, from a company's perspective, it's about thinking about being customer-centric. Yeah. So when I was in Napier last week speaking to the council and down there, it was all about how do you recognise that digital today is about relationships and communication. It's about being able to say, I'm okay with the fact that there's a one-on-one communication that could happen between myself and my customer, and that could happen then on a mass level as well. So therefore I've got to be really good at providing extraordinary service. I've got to understand what my purpose is. I need to know why I'm here, and I need to know what I can deliver to people, and then I can figure out how to take that into other platforms. So I think that's actually one of the key secrets to digital, is actually understanding what your purpose is in the first place.
So how is that relevant? Say you've got a small business, say you're a tradesperson, say you're working from home. How is the digital message relevant to those people?
Well, if you look at the stats, 86% of all recommendations, all purchases are made from recommendations. Yeah. And that's, if I say to you, oh, look, I could do with a mechanic, and then you give me the details. Now, you might give it to me on a card form, but most likely you're going to be giving that to me, be it on Twitter or Facebook or Messenger or email or any of those things. So the whole pass-on thing is extraordinarily important in today's environment. Yeah. And whether you're a one-man band or you're running a 1,000-person company, the playing field's the same.
So how do you feel about moving from a small business to a business of scale and the risk involved in that?
There's risk in everything that we do, and I think it's a valid question to ask yourself and your comfort levels when you're going down this path, because once you're starting spending other people's money, there's responsibilities that go with that. Yeah. And I certainly know I'd lose sleep over it, and I think anybody should. But look, I have this theory which is, you know, one person, you're not an island. You've got to be able to, if you want to create something, you have to bring other people on the journey. And so with Flossie.com, we get that this is an entrepreneurial brand, and whilst I might be the face of it, it's also really important that there's just so much more to it, and it's not just about me or my business. And the only way to do that is to have other advocates, and those other advocates come from within the business. And then within there, it's about saying, I would rather own less of something worth more than more of something worth less. And it was a lesson I was given very early on by one of my first investors, Lloyd Morrison. And he said to me, wouldn't you rather have something that was so much more successful, but you had a smaller percentage of it, than you tried and fought to hold on to it as yours, but it didn't get to kind of reach that point? And I think a lot of people get lost in that. They're so focused on having control and retaining that as theirs. But in fact, what you really want are people who are like-minded, but also have other skill sets that you don't, that will allow you to grow the business.
Yeah. And how do you inspire people to go on that journey with you?
I think being myself is a really important part of it. So the authentic journey that I'm on, I'm being really candid. Yeah. You know, let them know why I'm here, what excites me, being really open and upfront about all the elements of it, the upside and the downside, what the vision of what we could create and how we're going to get there. So I think being able to be a good storyteller is really important to inspiring people to come on the journey, but then being able to be open to any question that they throw out at you, so, which are plenty.
We've thrown a few just now.
Keep them coming.
And what is the future of Flossie.com?
Well, we've created Flossie Concierge of the last few months, so it's quite a significant pivot. We started in a voucher-based model. We come in and buy quiet time from us for salons and spas, so it might be a quiet Monday and Tuesday, and you could get a cheaper price for buying that versus a Friday, Saturday. We've pivoted over the last few months into a mobile version of Flossy Concierge, which is really taking the insight that the consumer is really busy. I don't have enough hours in the day. I don't want to play phone tag.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I want who wants me. So the app allows you to pick up your phone and say, I'd like to get a haircut this afternoon or tomorrow. Someone come back to me, this is my price range. And you can narrow it down to suburbs, particular places, whatever you like.
Actually, I would like to get a haircut. Can someone sort that?
Exactly. It'll take you like 10 seconds to make the request.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're 2 months into that journey. We've got just on 3,500 people using the service and 170 salons already using the technology.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Well, listen, we wish you every success with this and all your adventures. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Carmel, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, you teach speed dating for business.
Yes, I do.
What is that?
Well, essentially, people understand the concept of speed dating in a personal sense, and what we're trying to do is really give people the tools so that they can quickly determine whether the person that they're talking to is someone that they want to continue talking to and engage for further services.
Right. And there's quite a skill set that goes with meeting people and presenting yourself well, isn't there?
There is, and often people focus on the words that actually come out of your mouth, and we know that 95% of all first impressions are actually non-verbal. So how can we bring those other things to the fore so that we don't have to always focus on the words?
Yeah, and this is relevant to you even if you're not in business.
Correct. You can apply it in any avenue that you network and meet new people.
Yeah. So tell me, what are some of the things that influence another person if it's not the words coming out of your mouth?
Well, it's looking at what I call 5 A's, and the first one of those is the appearance. So we are always, without realising it, judging people or looking at what people are wearing, how they have their hair, what accessories they may be wearing. Women are very good at looking and idolising and envious of other people's shoes, etc. So it's really just...
You have great shoes on today.
Thank you very much. So it's really about how we take people in on literally what our eyes see.
Yeah. Okay, so what's your advice to people on that? Obviously, you know, you have to give a bit of thought to your appearance.
With networking, I think that you need to think about, you know, making sure that our clothes are ironed if they need to be. It's a very simple thing that some people forget to do. I've come across many people at an event where they've had food spillages or drink spillages. Not a good look to start with. So it's really just making sure that everything that we wear is crisp and clean and obviously is appropriate for the occasion.
And what's the next A?
The next one is approach, and really that's looking at mentally how we approach event, why are we going along, ultimately what do we want to get from that. Because a lot of people, I find, will go along to an event and actually just be there to eat and drink, which isn't ideal.
That's me.
The other side to the approach is really the physical, so that's how a person walks in the room. Do they smile? Do they have good posture? Do they look confident?
Yeah. Because
we want to engage with other people that do look confident.
So how do you look confident if inside you're not feeling that confident?
Well, one of my favourite sayings is actually from John Wayne, and it's, courage is about being scared to death but saddling up anyway.
Saddling up, I like that.
Yeah, so it's just taking that opportunity to go, I can do this. If all else fails, I can walk away and I won't necessarily need to, you know, meet these people again.
Yeah. So after you've saddled up, what's the next A? Accessories,
and that's both in a business and personal sense, really what we take along to add to us selling ourselves. So in a business sense, it could be business cards, it could be pens, pads, anything that really showcases your business and your brand. And accessories, it could be literally things that we adorn ourselves with that perhaps may be a talking point. I've met lots of people and I find it very interesting. One particular example was a man I met who was wearing a bow tie, and you don't often see men wearing bow ties. And I said, you know, that was a very distinctive bow tie, and he was so chuffed. I never said that I liked it, but he was so chuffed that I had even mentioned it, and he was thrilled to share his story about that for him. and it meant that he was really enjoying the fact that I was engaging with him and wanting to know him.
So you said, "Oh, you're wearing a bow tie," and he went, "Thanks."
Yeah, yeah. So it's all about perception and how people receive those messages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the next day? How many have we had now?
We've had 3, so number 4 is attitude.
Yes.
I'm amazed at the number of people who go along to events and meet people, and you can tell it's written all over their face that they don't want to be there.
Yeah.
They don't enjoy it, and therefore they don't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
From there. Yeah. So it's really about going in positive, making sure that we connect with people in a way that's small talk, not too deep and meaningful or too philosophical. Networking is actually just about creating that small talk and connecting with people on a personal level.
Yeah. And the last one?
And the last one is all afterthought. And 95% of people go along to events, maybe collect some business cards, but do absolutely nothing about it.
I know.
And often that's the opportunity for us to engage further, to connect with them, to perhaps do business with them.
Yeah. So in summary, what's your key message for people?
I think people enjoy connecting with others when they have a foundation of trusting and liking someone. And I have a passion really to create meaningful and authentic relationships with others. And we do that by providing tools to build rapport, to connect on a personal level. And the key thing really is that networking should focus on the person, not what they do.
Yeah.
Because if we can connect with them, we can get the emotional buy-in, we can create intrigue, we can get curiosity, we can invite them to tell their story, they're more open and receptive to hearing what we have to say.
Okay, brilliant, love it. Thank you so much for all those tips, that's awesome. Thanks very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Jessie, welcome back. Great to see you again.
Great to be here again.
Now, you have been bringing us fabulous music every week from Wilde Records.
I have.
But in addition, you are a singer-songwriter in your own right.
That is true.
Tell me how you got started.
Well, I had no one musical in my family. And I think I was about 11, and I saw on TV the Elvis comeback special. It's obviously a rerun. And I asked my mum, I'd like to learn the guitar. And she said, cool. So I started learning. I had lessons for a couple of years, and then I probably put it away, and it wasn't until probably third form at college when I was sitting on the beach and I noticed a guy playing guitar and all the girls were hanging around. And I thought, I can play guitar and sing. So I sort of took it back up again, and it sort of sprung from there, playing guitar on the beach, and that's where I met one of my best friends, Aaron, who was on the show earlier, on one of the earlier episodes. And people kept saying, you guys should form a band. And that's pretty much where it happened.
So you formed a band, and how did your first gig go?
Well, our very first gig was in Parnell at a place called the Memphis Bar. And I remember it was like a restaurant, and we had these guitar amps. We didn't have a proper PA system. And the first set, there was just people quietly eating their dinner. And I was like, I didn't want to be a restaurant band.
You wanted to rock out.
That's right. So during our first break, we decided to walk up, Parnell Rise, the main street, and tell everyone in all the bars that there's this awesome band down the street and they should check them out. We didn't let them on that it was us. And then by the second set, the bar was full. The whole place was full. And, they were yelling for more, and we were playing, and they were having a great time. And that's when we realized we don't really have our guitar amps weren't going to cut it across the noise of the crowd. So we happened to be saving for a boat at the time, and we ended up taking our money out of our bank account for the boat, and we bought a PA system, and the rest of it is history. The band just started from there.
And so tell me, you played famous venues like the Glue Pot. Tell me how that came about.
Well, pretty much ever since our first ever gig on Parnell Rise, I would ring up Michael, I won't say his last name, but he was the manager of the Glue Pot, and I would ring him up every day. I pretty much rang him up every day for about 3 months and telling him where we're playing and saying we want to play the Glue Pot. And he kept saying, I don't know if you guys are ready yet. And he was asking, how long has the band been together? And I said, a couple of weeks, 3. Yeah, but we're ready for the Glue Pot, because I knew if you play at the Glue Pot, that was the best venue in New Zealand. And if you play at the Glue Pot, you could play anywhere. So I think about 3 months after ringing him up every day, I think I might have left him alone on Sundays.
The guy was sick of you by now.
And I think one day I rang him, and he said, all right, I'll give you a gig, but if you promise not to ring me for a week. So he gave us a gig. It was a Wednesday night, and we were pretty nervous. My first band was called Acoustic Attitude. We were a 4-piece then, and we got all of our friends. We put up posters and flyers, and we packed the place out on a Wednesday night, and we performed the best we could. And I remember at the end of that gig thinking, well, if he doesn't like us, he doesn't like us, because we did the best. And he came up at the end of the gig, and he looked at me, and he shook his head, and he said, "You'll never play the Glue Pot again." And my heart just sank. And he had his hands behind his back, and he said, "On a Wednesday night." And he pulled out his diary, and he said, "From now on, it's Fridays and Saturdays." And he booked about 5 or 6 gigs right there and then.
Very cool, very cool. So what do you put that down to? Is it beginner's luck? Is it guts? Is it, what is it?
I tell every musician that comes into my studio, talent, there's definitely a level of talent, but it's all about persistence. Yeah. If you know the story of Elvis, it's all about persistence. He bugged Sam Phillips for over a year before he got a record deal. So.
And that's true of anything, whether it's music, whether it's business, it's all about persistence.
It takes a little bit of talent, but it's really about persistence. And if you want it bad enough, that's what I tell people. So
what advice would you give young musicians coming through?
The best advice, I'm a songwriter. So the best advice to me is it's all about the song as far as I'm concerned. Write good songs, spend time crafting your songs. And then it's about persistence and self-belief and just going out there, and there's no other option than just going out there and believing in yourself with your songs. Get a band, practice, and just keep doing it.
But so many musicians will not want to take the risk. They need to get a job, pay the bills, all that kind of stuff. What would you say to them?
That is, what would I say to them? Well, I learned a very valuable lesson when I met John Mellencamp. I met John at his recording studio in a little place just outside of Bloomington, Indiana. And he had built his own recording studio. And he actually gave me the advice of building your own studio. And he said he didn't want to have record companies, telling him how much he can spend on a record and stifling his creativity. And I had a little issue with a record label saying there wasn't enough money to do the record the way I wanted to do it. So I decided that I wanted to be in control of my music. And I basically bought my first house just to build the studio. And I had to sort of trick my unconscious mind to say, I'm buying this house, which is not really what I wanted to do as a musician, but then right next to the house was this 2 garages joined together, and I knew I could turn that into an awesome recording studio.
So you modelled your studio off John Mellencamp's studio?
Yeah, pretty much. Lots of, like Dave Grohl, he had a studio by his house. Lots of these guys did.
So a great number of the artists that you're recording with have been on the TV show, which is awesome. Now, you're looking for talent for next season.
We're always looking for new talent in the studio. So anyone that wants to come in, give me a call, send me an email, and we'll hook you up. I got some great session musicians. You can come, we can build a whole band around your sound. And
right, so you don't even need to have your own band. You can just come in as a solo and have those guys work with you.
Yeah, we do that a lot for people,
And we're putting together a compilation CD from the series.
Yep, a lot of the artists that have been on this show, we're going to put either 1 or 2 songs on a compilation CD, and hopefully it'll be out before Christmas.
Awesome, so great Christmas present for everyone. Don't forget to order your compilation CD. And any other advice for singer-songwriters?
Yeah, a big piece of advice that I would say is you can't be creative when you're broke and you're constantly worrying about how to put food on the table. Yeah. And quite a few years back, after I bought my first house, my accountant said to me, well, you're making too much money now. You should probably buy an investment property to offset the money that you're making. It was an LAQC, it was called back then. So I bought an investment property, and now after each year I managed to save a little bit more money and buy another property. We've actually got 20 properties now. Wow. And in 3 different countries, and they create a great return for us. And it's amazing, when I stopped worrying about where the money's going to come from, I started making more money out of my music. And it's important to make a living doing what you love. So,
Jesse, now, who is on the show today?
Well, today, funnily enough, it's me and my band, Jesse Wilde and the Drive.
And anyone else?
Yes, we're going to have a very special guest on bass.
So Jesse, what song are we performing?
We're performing a song I wrote called Fallen. And I wrote this song about a girl who I met in Fiji. And 2 days after I met her, I wrote the song. Because when you know, you know. And not long afterwards, we got married.
Oh, we all love a good love story, don't we?
So yeah, it's available on iTunes. Look up Jesse Wilde. And
great, thanks Jesse, and
You're
my
welcome.
thanks to all my special guests, to Jenene and Carmel from today, and to all my guests all season long, and the fantastic artists who will be on the compilation CD. We'll be back next season in the new year, and don't forget in the meantime to connect to us on Facebook. And as Jesse says, we are always looking for new talent. Now, I am going to get ready to play bass and we are going to rock you out. And until next season, don't wait to wake up your wow.
down, 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 down. I think I'm falling all the way down. Well, I hear love calling. It's an unusual sound. Well, I don't want nothing from her. She's not willing to share. And I have faith that true love is me. I think I'm falling all the way down. And I see her hair shining in the sun. How I long to be her one. I think I'm falling all the way down. And I hear love calling. It's an unusual sound. Take it away, Mom. Well, our hearts on fire, and I can feel the heat. And I think I'm falling deep. I think I'm falling.